We're live from Joliet, Illinois, and the University of St. Francis is taking on St. Ambrose University in the finale of the CCAC soccer season. Welcome to the broadcast from Joliet Memorial Stadium and ATI Field here in Joliet. My name is Terry Bonadonna on the call for today's game as the Bees of St. Ambrose get it rolling. They're going from left to right here in the first half and wearing their navy blue uniforms. Fighting Saints are in gold and white, and they're going from right to left on your screen in the first half. Saints trying to stay on a roll. They've won back-to-back games for the first time this season, and they'll try to finish out the regular campaign here with 3 consecutive victories. It's St. Ambrose taking possession here on the defensive side of the field. That's Caitlin Buss pushing it down the sideline, towards the sideline, and out of bounds. A throw-in coming up here for St. Francis. Let's take a look at the starters for these two teams. We'll start with the visitors. St. Ambrose has Caitlin Buss, Maddie Aguilar, Rachel Jennings, Erin Smothers. That's Jennings right there, pushing it off to the left side and off to Stephanie Quigley, who stays in the lineup with Katie Wrights, Madison Volpert, Morgan Wallen, Lisa Walter, and Katie Pendleton. Back on the defensive side again, it's Jennings all alone chasing that towards the back line and pushing it off to the left side, where St. Ambrose starts to work their way down the field. The Bees have not yet been able to get it across midfield, more than a minute into the action, but it looks like they're about to do that right here as they do get it across. That's Quigley pushing it out of bounds. The goalkeeper for St. Ambrose is the freshman Katie Turnquist, making just her 3rd collegiate start. From Batavia, Illinois, it is her 5th overall appearance, spelling Molly McLaughlin, who is the usual starting keeper for the Bees. Turnquist has been very good in her brief career, although she gives it away right here as a shot comes in and comes up short. Alonzo tried to make the goalkeeper Katie Turnquist pay for giving it up on her own defensive end without much defensive help in front of her. But the goalie is able to come out on top on that particular play, so we remain scoreless at 2 minutes into the game. St. Ambrose on the move, far side of the field. They get a throw in. First time they've been on the attack today. Ball lobbed in over the intended target's head, and Kiki Estrada is able to clear it relatively easily, but back out of bounds for a throw-in. Just outside the box, throw comes in from the Bees. Goes into Wrights, and now across in front of the net. It finds its target, but wrestled off of her and pushed out of bounds by Haley Bazan, and it's going to be another throw-in for St. Ambrose. They're still on the make here, but nice work by the Fighting Saints defense, at least in the short term there. So they're able to clear it once again. St. Ambrose just a moment ago had a spot in front of the net where it looked like they might have a clean shot before Haley Bazan was able to knock it away. And she's going to be the one involved in the throw-in here as it goes out of bounds once again. Let's get the numbers on the goalkeeper for St. Ambrose. Katie Turnquist has saved 11 shots this year in her 2 starts and 2 relief appearances coming in. .33. The goals allowed average. She has been impressive. She's 2-0. She's won both of her starts, and one of those 2 was a shutout. As a team this year, St. Ambrose has shut out 7 opponents. So it's going to be an uphill climb today for the Fighting Saints offense, but they've been performing at their best over the last couple of weeks. So we'll see if they've got another fine performance in them today. There's Quigley tripping up Grace McDermott, but Quigley is able to get the ball away anyway. Here in front of the box, there's a shot from dead on, and it sails just a little bit wide off to the left side. Ellie Provo watches it go out. Nothing doing from Madison Volpert that time. You've already met a number of them, but let's go through the starters for the University of St. Francis today. It's Olivia Hollander, Brittany Cook, Madison Hanyon, Alejandra Alonzo, Haley Bazan, Haley Wenberg, Grace McDermott, Kiki Estrada, Kelly Petrowski, and Casey Harris, as that ball is chipped in towards the line, and an easy stop for Ellie Provo going to her left. That ball well wide of the net, so no real danger for Provo. She easily scooped it up and punted it down the field. Just under 41 minutes to play in the first half. No scoring yet, as St. Ambrose stays on the attack, pushing it off to the left side. Chasing it down is Morgan Wallen along the sideline. It's knocked out of bounds. Ellie Provo is the goalkeeper today for St. Francis. Provo starting for the 11th time, playing for the 13th. She has only sat out the entirety of 2 games this year, and she's been good. Her first season as a starter 1.8 goals allowed per contest. She's made 44 saves in her 12 games, 10 of which have been starts. That ball is passed back to Provo, and in front of the net, Wrights nearly had a shot on it. Provo and Wrights got to that ball right around the same time, and Provo was able not to pick it up, but at least to push it off the foot of Wright so she couldn't get a clean shot off. Instead, it's knocked out of bounds, and it'll be thrown in by the Fighting Saints, as Wrights was the last one to touch it. So Ambrose knocks it out again. Provo has just a 1-7-2 record in her starts this year. But despite only one win as a starter, she has 2 shutouts. So she has not necessarily always gotten offensive support, but she has pretty consistently been good. Pushed ahead to Kelly Petrowski. She was well offside. Flag went up immediately, and no attack for St. Francis here. It is senior day for the University of St. Francis. Today, not only the final home game on the schedule, but the final game of any kind on the schedule for this season. So the seniors were honored beforehand. Almost all of them are in the lineup today. Camille Papalera is not, but that's par for the course. Papalera has been out with an injury for much of the season. Back on defense for the Fighting Saints. That's Haley Bazan tapping it out and knocking it off of Aaron Smothers in the process. So that's a goal kick for the Fighting Saints. But Alonzo, Estrada, Harris, and Wenberg are all out there and playing for St. Francis today. Final time in USF uniforms, barring a trip to the conference tournament, which would be next week. They would need a big win here, and they need some help. So we'll see how it goes. It's not terribly likely going into some contests later on today. Judson actually playing right now against Robert Morris, and Judson would have to lose big in that one to open the door even for the Fighting Saints. So not necessarily at the front of anybody's mind right now. They just want to finish up the season sharp here. Hope for a big win of their own, not worry about what anybody else is doing. Knocked out of bounds. It is a Saints throw-in. St. Francis has not allowed a goal in either of their last 2 games. In fact, they've had shutouts in 3 of the last 4. They have either won or tied 3 of their last 4 games. I guess that's necessary for a shutout. Can't lose without giving up a goal. Haley Wenberg right around midfield, along the near sideline. Just under 38 minutes to play in the first half. Tipped back by Smothers, but Haley Bazan gets in her way and knocks it back towards the midfield circle, where it is secured by Lisa Walter. Walter starts to make her way down the field, passes off to the far side. Back to the middle, Walter once again. Volpert. Madison Volpert dribbles it back amidst some pressure from Olivia Hollander. Gets it off to the sideline. St. Ambrose finally gives up possession. The Bees had been holding onto it for a while. Now they tackle it right back. They haven't done much with this possession as it's sent into the box, and an easy pickup again for Ellie Provo. Credit to the St. Francis defense there. They just were a stonewall over the last minute or so. St. Ambrose had the ball the entire time, passing it back and forth, but never were able to mount any sort of attack. So we remain scoreless here. Still pretty early in the contest. This is Wrights, the leading goal scorer this season for St. Ambrose. Her pass is deflected back to midfield, but it is brought in by Volpert. Volpert and Aaron Smothers start to make their way down the field. There's an interception by the St. Francis defense. Hollander pressured by Aaron Smothers. She gets it over to Kiki Estrada, though. Pushes downfield towards Kelly Petrowski. Intercepted right back by St. Ambrose, and now they're on the attack. Rolled into the box. This is Wrights. Wrights couldn't get a clean kick on it. Now a shot goes wide to the right. First touch from Katie Wrights was a little bit awkward. She had some space when she initially received that pass, and if she had been able to give it a good look initially, I think she probably would have had her 11th goal of the season and given St. Ambrose a 1-0 lead, because she did have open space in front of her to shoot, but a little clumsy with the first touch, just couldn't get a clean grip on it with the foot. And as a result, she wasn't able to take a shot until a second later. And at that point, it was pressured, didn't get as much on it, and it went wide to the right. Ellie Provo just watched it go out of bounds. Saints dodge a bullet there. That may have been the best scoring chance we've seen in the first 10 minutes of today's game. But it remains 0-0 as St. Ambrose at midfield pushes it forward along the far sideline. There's Kiki Estrada chasing it back and pulling it in. Estrada rolls it down the sideline, and it's intercepted there by Katie Pendleton. Pendleton rolls it in front of the net where Ellie Provo falls on top of it. Not a strong shot there from Katie Pendleton. Pendleton is a sophomore midfielder who's getting a rare chance to start today, just her second of the year. She's starting in place of Tori Timmerman, who had started all but one game all season. She is not in the lineup today for the second time. Katie Pendleton is making just her second start of the year. St. Ambrose throw in from the defensive side. Picked off immediately by St. Francis, but they can't mount an attack there. Rolled forward into the attacking third for the Fighting Saints and cleared away out of bounds. Throw in coming up here for the Fighting Saints after Caitlin Buss knocked it out the sideline, and the Saints will try it again. Grace McDermott grabs the ball. She tosses it in right in front of the box where it's headed back out of bounds by Jennings. So third consecutive throw in for the Fighting Saints. Tossed in front of Casey Harris, headed away from Harris by Volpert and out the back line for a corner kick. So the Saints get to do it again. That's 4 straight times that St. Ambrose has knocked the ball out of bounds in a row. 3 of them for throw-ins, and now this time St. Francis gets the game's first corner kick. It is the senior here on Senior Day doing the honors, Casey Harris. Rolls it in front, and it's popped out of bounds by Jennings. Harris will try it again. Not a great touch there by Jennings. It rolled up her left leg. Not able to clear it. Instead, she deflected it actually towards the net. Ended up going out of bounds, though. Jennings again. This time she's able to get out in front of that ball and pop it towards the sideline. Nice job that time by Jennings. Still not able to totally clear it, but forced out of bounds for a throw-in this time rather than a corner kick, and now that ball is taken away. And that's Jennings again with a fine tackle to take possession and start to work it towards midfield, and it's intercepted there by St. Francis's Brittany Cook. Cook ahead to Casey Harris, and here comes Harris. Off to Alonzo. Back towards the middle of the field, and now the defensive side will take over again for the Fighting Saints. Hollander to Harris. Harris chips it forward to the left side, and knocked away by Caitlin Buzz. There's Haley Bazan waiting to receive that deflection, but a foul is called, and St. Ambrose gets the free kick. Petrowski and Buss had gotten tangled up there. There's a trip as Haley Wenberg goes down, knocked to the turf by Maddie Aguilar. And just shy of midfield, along the near sideline, the Fighting Saints get their own free kick here. 32 minutes to play in the first half, no score. Here's Kiki Estrada's kick. Down the middle, headed backwards by Aguilera. She finds a teammate, and the defense for St. Ambrose clears it for the moment. Alejandra Alonso working against a couple of defenders. Knocked off of her foot by Aaron Smothers. Smothers, though, has it taken away from her by Hollander. Nice challenge from Hollander. Here's Alonso along the sideline, looking for the cross. Shadowed the entire way by Buss on the defensive side. Alonso finds Bazan. Bazan deflects it off of a defender and right back to Alonso, who does keep it in bounds. Saints remain on the attack, but it's knocked out this time by Maddie Aguilar. A throw in for the Fighting Saints. That allows the defense to catch their breath a little bit and get themselves in position. Tossed back into play by the freshman Bazan in front of the box. There's Casey Harris taking a shot, and it's just a little bit wide. Some of the Saints are asking for a corner kick, but it was not, in fact, deflected by the goalkeeper, Katie Turnquist. She made a diving effort for it, just out of her reach as it was just outside the limits of the net. Wide by inches there from Casey Harris. Nice chance taken by the senior midfielder playing in her final game for the Fighting Saints. She has appeared in every one of them over the last 4 years. Along the sideline, out of bounds for a St. Francis throw-in. Haley Wenberg gets set to toss it back in play. She takes a step forward and lofts it towards Alonso. Here's Casey Harris, and Harris can't control it. Instead, it's taken by Lisa Walter. Here come the Fighting Bees. Smothers back to Aguilar. Aguilar tried to chip it downfield to Smothers along the sideline, but it was picked off by the Fighting Saints, and now they look to reverse the field. Caitlin Buss steps up defensively, knocks it across midfield, going back and forth at midfield, controlled by Casey Harris. Harris pushes it ahead. Petrowski Alonso there, and Alonso makes a run at it, but can't catch up. That ball dribbles out of bounds. St. Ambrose will re-enter the ball here. 29 minutes, 40 seconds to play in the first half. Here's Alonso. Pretty evenly matched first half so far. And we're still pretty early, just over 15 minutes into the game. Doesn't really, early on at least, look like a game between a 12-3 team, which is St. Ambrose's record, and a 3-10 team, which is St. Francis. Actually 3-10-2. A couple of ties this year. Long run for Smothers down into the corner, and Estrada gets there first. Estrada boxes out Smothers and lets that ball roll out of bounds for a goal kick. St. Francis has been playing better than their record lately, certainly on the defensive end, as they have allowed only 2 goals in their last 4 games. But offensively, they were able to go crazy at Holy Cross this past Wednesday, a 3-0 win on Wednesday in South Bend. Prior to that, they had not scored as many as 3 goals in a game since way back on August 26th, a home one in which they tied Harris Stowe State 3-3. In fact, after scoring those 3 goals in one game, it took them another 6 games before they were able to amass 3 goals total. The month of September was not kind to the Fighting Saints, but they have turned it around after getting shut out 4 times in September. That has happened to them only once this month, and that wasn't even a loss. That was a 0-0 tie. Whistle blows. St. Francis will get the kick. Well, back on their defensive side of the field. 28 minutes to play in the first half. Knocked ahead to the midfield circle. And Haley Bazan works it ahead for Kelly Petrowski. Petrowski is forced off the ball by Rachel Jennings. Good defense by Jennings. The ball rolls back into the hands of the waiting Katie Turnquist. Turnquist punts it on the far side across midfield. Headed by Brittany Cook towards the sideline. Cook battles with Wallen, but it's knocked out of bounds by Cook and the Fighting Saints. Throw in for Ambrose. And Olivia Hollander forces it away. Good clearance there. Kelly Petrowski chases that ball down, and she's going to get called for knocking Stephanie Quigley over. Petrowski and Quigley both went after the ball. Petrowski ended up with it. Quigley ended up on the ground. And the officials determined there was a little foul play in allowing that to happen. Free kick for St. Ambrose. Haven't had much of an offensive game to speak of in the early going here. It's a team that has scored 34 goals on the season in only 15 games, so well over 2 per contest. But a slow start offensively for them today. They've had maybe 1 good look on the goal, and we're not able to turn it into a score. St. Ambrose ball down near the corner, not quite yet in the corner. Ambrose knocks it down the sideline. Brittany Cook pushes it forward, but intercepted by the Bees. And intercepted right back by the Fighting Saints. That's Madison Hanyon. Chipped into the box, and on one bounce, it's played routinely by Katie Turnquist. Turnquist wearing the long sleeve red goalkeeper shirt today with black pants as well. It's a chilly day, but seasonably so. Pretty nice day for soccer, actually. Fans might disagree with me. It might be a little cooler than most of their tastes. The ball rolls all the way back into the hands of Ellie Provo, who picks it up easily and gets set to punt it away. For the players, though, I think this weather, low 50s, is ideal. It's been a mostly gray afternoon so far, but the sun is poking through really for the first time since this morning right now. Alonso down into the corner, trying to set up this possession for the Fighting Saints. Knocked off to Casey Harris, steps by one defender, passing it off to Petrowski. It is knocked away by St. Ambrose. Great run there by Casey Harris, but it came up short. They've been better off trying to find a shot off of that. Petrowski was pretty well defended. Still St. Francis possession here as they toss it into the box. Alonso knocks it in front of the net. Petrowski turns and fires a shot, but it is out of bounds. Deflected out for a corner kick. As Petrowski's shot was defended there. 24 minutes, 20 seconds to go. First half. Third corner kick opportunity for Casey Harris and St. Francis today. Harris plays it short again, and for the third time, it's defended by Rachel Jennings. Right back to Harris this time, though. She crosses it again under the leg of Alonso, and there's Olivia Hollander taking the shot, and a foul called. So St. Francis, with just about 24 minutes to play here, is going to get a chance to strike first. Kiki Estrada comes all the way in to take the penalty shot. Fighting Saints making it happen offensively just by being aggressive here. Off the corner kick. Foul called with Hollander taking the shot in the box. Here's Kiki Estrada on for the penalty kick. Estrada approaches, takes the kick, and scores for St. Francis. Kiki Estrada has herself a goal. Senior defender. Not typically known for her offense, but on senior day today, she gets a chance to score, and she does just that. 21 minutes exactly into the action. It is the Saints who strike first. And good to see Kiki Estrada get on the board for the first time. So St. Ambrose shaken up by that one a little bit. A team that does not surrender too many goals. Coming into play today, both teams had played 15 games this year. St. Francis had only scored 13 goals in those 15 games, and St. Ambrose had allowed 13 goals in their 15 games. Actually, interestingly, these two teams have been kind of the reverse of one another. St. Francis had been outscored through the first 15, 35-13. St. Ambrose had outscored their opponents, 34-13. That's out of bounds, and St. Ambrose will get to throw it in. And not surprisingly, they have almost exact opposite records. Ambrose 12-3, St. Francis 3-10-2. St. Ambrose ran into a bump in the road earlier this month after a really dominant stretch. Trying to get it back in gear here today to close out the regular season. But they trail early on, 1-0. Fighting Saints on Kiki Estrada's penalty kick goal just a few minutes ago. Smothers is knocked to the ground. No foul called, but it is out of bounds. Good tackle there by Haley Bazan, and clean. Smothers gets it right back off of her own toss, and again knocked away by the freshman defender for St. Francis, and this time it is going to be a Fighting Saints throw. Nice work by Bazan to deflect it off of Smothers. St. Ambrose and Trinity Christian went head-to-head a couple of weeks ago. Both teams at the time were undefeated in conference. Looked like a good neck-and-neck battle. There's a cross in front of the net. Controlled by St. Ambrose. They've got a clean shot, and they tie the score. The first touch there went to Katie Pendleton as Ellie Provo made a diving effort for it. And Pendleton had a pretty clean look, but Provo, I think, was able to disrupt her a little bit. And so she didn't get the shot off. I think it was Madison Volper who got the last touch on that ball. There were a couple of St. Ambrose players in the vicinity. As here's Alonzo working her way quickly down the field the other way. So less than 2 minutes after St. Francis scores. St. Ambrose right back on the board to even it up at 1. Brand new game here. There's a whistle against Maddie Aguilar. Alejandra Alonso falling to the ground in the process. St. Francis in the attacking third of the field here. Casey Harris gets a free kick from 30 yards out to the left of the net. Let's see what Harris has in mind. Here it comes. She plays it short in front of the goal. There's a turn from Olivia Hollander trying to get the shot off. Nothing doing. Deflected back by St. Ambrose. Here's Casey Harris jumping in the way again. Harris can't control it, though. It's Katie Wrights taking the ball away. So the goal was Morgan Wallen for St. Ambrose. And for Wallen, that's the 6th goal this season, which is second most on the team. There were several Fighting Bees in the vicinity, but it was Wallen who ended up coming out with the score, tying it up 1-1. There's a shot from long range for Casey Harris. She put it on target, but Turnquist was there to make the stop. Rolled off to the left side. Smothers and deflected away by Haley Vizan back out of bounds. This has been a very entertaining first half, really evenly matched. Both teams have had some opportunities, but neither team was able to get anything in for the first 20 minutes, and then in the 21st, it was a penalty in the box off of a scramble following a corner kick. Allowed Kiki Estrada to score the first goal, and then just 2 minutes after that, a goal from Morgan Wallen of St. Ambrose, tied it at 1. And here we sit right now with under 20 minutes to play. Still in the first half here of what has become a somewhat sunny Saturday afternoon in late October. There's a ball forward into the box. Chasing it down, Volpert is stopped immediately by Ellie Provo. Provo does a good job of getting on top of that ball and making the sliding stop. There's the punt from Provo. St. Ambrose on defense. It's Maddie Aguilar passing to the left. Quigley knocked out of bounds for a Fighting Bees throw-in. Aguilar pushed back here to the midfielder Madison Volpert, and Volpert reverses field going to the right side. Here's Smothers. Smothers' pass deflected towards the sideline and out of bounds. So Aaron Smothers gets to toss it back in. She and Katie Wrights playing a little two-man game right now. Wrights has been pretty quiet on the attack so far in this match. She's got 10 goals so far this season. So far in today's game, though, Wrights has only as many as one shot and not on goal. Here comes Wallen, who scored the goal earlier. Wallen's pass to the middle of the field is deflected. On the rebound, Maddie Aguilar fires it from a long distance, and it goes out of bounds. Set up for a St. Francis goal kick now. Ellie Provo will do the honors herself. Provo, a sophomore from Dixon, Illinois, the younger sister of Katie Provo, plays for St. Ambrose, but not in the lineup today. So no chance to save any of her sister's shots, at least in the early going in today's game. See if anything changes going forward. Knocked out of bounds, and that's a throw in for St. Ambrose. 17 minutes to play in the first half. Aaron Smothers tosses it in, immediately deflected, but right back to Smothers. To her left, that's Aguilar, giving it to Smothers again along the sideline. Smothers trying to blow by the St. Francis defender. Can't do it, but it is knocked out of bounds by the Saints. Tossed into Aguilar. Aguilar sends it in front of the net and headed up into the air. It bounces once and jumping stop by Ellie Provo off the header from Brittany Cook. So Cook and Provo combine on that stop, and Provo punts it away. Good strong punt, bounces right at midfield and takes a hop St. Francis's way, but stopped quickly by Stephanie Quigley. Quigley is able to pass it off to the left, or to her right rather. St. Francis's left. There's Buss. Off to Wallen. Wallen tries to thread the needle here, and she does end up getting it to Katie Pendleton. Pendleton into the box. Has one person a beat and can't get it by the goalie Provo. Knocked down from behind. Shot from Pendleton goes wide, and she was tripped up from behind on the play by Brittany Cook, but with no whistle. The Saints able to get by another one there, and that's a big stop by the Fighting Saints. Cook and Pendleton were really running stride for stride with one another. Clean play from Brittany Cook as she forced Pendleton's shot to go a little bit wide. It looked like it was just going to be Pendleton against Ellie Provo there for a moment, and Provo ended up not having to make the save. There's a whistle and a stoppage of the clock with 15:21 to play. We've got an injured B. Looks like Morgan Wallen is a little bit shaken up. Wallen will be walked off the field. She's walking off on her own, but escorted by the trainer. I'm not sure what happened to Morgan Wallen there. She may have gotten hit in the head. It looked like she's grabbing her at her head as she walked off the field, but once she gets off towards the sideline, she's standing by herself over on the bench right now. She looks to be okay. And so she is replaced for now. New player on the pitch is Tori Timmerman. Tori Timmerman, a freshman forward who has started all but one game this season prior to today. This is only the second time she's been called in as a reserve. And it comes as Morgan Wallen walks off to the bench. Wallen sits on the bench by herself, not getting any medical attention right now, so that's good to see that she seems to be doing all right. Here's St. Ambrose in possession at midfield. Aguilar carries it back. Now dribbles to the left side and passes in that direction. Walter. Over to Smothers, and Smothers passes it ahead to Timmerman. Timmerman long run, trying to keep that ball in bounds, and she does. Timmerman goes head to head with Estrada. Rolls it off towards Estrada's right, and Estrada pokes it away. Knocked out of bounds by St. Francis. Good defense right there, keeping St. Ambrose off the board for now. Smothers gets to toss it back in. Into Katie Wrights. Wrights' cross goes right to Ellie Provo. I don't think that was an intended shot from Katie Wrights. I think she was just trying to hook up with a teammate, but she put it too close to the net, and so Provo was easily able to jump out and make the catch herself. There's Casey Harris trying to get it ahead to Kelly Petrowski, and it looks like Petrowski will be the first one to reach that ball. So here's Petrowski rolling it back to the middle. She takes a shot, and it's saved nicely by Katie Turnquist. Good opportunity, though, for Petrowski. Good ball work from her after a fine pass from Casey Harris. What a good save. Katie Turnquist was right where she needed to be to make that stop. Here are the Bees. Smothers rolled ahead down the middle of the field, running to catch up with that ball in front of the net. It's a shot and a save by Provo. Nice job turning away Volpert there. Beautiful save by Ellie Provo. Still in possession of St. Ambrose here, though. There's another shot from a long way out this time, and a much easier stop this time on the attempt from Katie Wrights for Ellie Provo. So it's been a busy couple of minutes for Provo. She punts it away and gets it off the defensive side of the field. Smothers touches that ball out of bounds. St. Francis gets the throw in. They also get to make a substitution. Olivia De La Rosa is in. Kelly Petrowski gets a rest, so De La Rosa will play up top right now, I think. Throw is headed back by St. Ambrose. There's Olivia Hollander squaring it up to the right side. Intercepted there by Morgan Verkatrin. Down towards the back line. De La Rosa tries to track it down, but nothing doing. Offsides, I think, was the call. Just about 12 minutes to play in the first half. Actually, no offsides. It did go out of bounds along the back line, so it's a goal kick for Turnquist and the Fighting Bees. Caitlin Buss. Add to Erin Smothers. Smothers bounces it across midfield. Estrada steps in. Can't clear it, though. It's Maddie Aguilar off to Pendleton. And Pendleton heads it forward to Timmerman. Tori Timmerman can't quite reach that ball. Brittany Cook gets there first, and Cook knocks it out of bounds. Nice play by the junior defender. This is a throw-in from Smothers. Smothers once again. Sends it in front of the net. Deflected away by St. Francis. Estrada trying to clear it. And she does the next best thing by just pushing it out of bounds. Throw in for Smothers. Tossed in off the foot of Timmerman right back to Smothers, but cleared by Haley Wenberg. St. Ambrose gets it back again to the middle of the field. It's Smothers. Smothers pops it into the box, headed towards the net. Ellie Provo comes racing out on it, and Provo gets there just in front of Morgan Verkatrin. Provo's nice afternoon continues. She has allowed one goal, but she's made a few nice saves, and she stepped in on a few balls that were not officially saves, but she was able to halt them before they could become shots. 1-1. We're tied. Starting to get late in the first half. Just over 10 minutes to play. Smothers splits the defense, but not well enough as Casey Harris comes in from behind to take the ball away. Here's Harris on the offensive. Harris ahead for Olivia De La Rosa. Long run for De La Rosa. She gets there, though, before any Fighting Bees defenders. Trying to turn it back to the middle of the field. It's passed to Harris. Harris takes a shot from long range, and it's just wide to the left. From 30 yards out there, Casey Harris tried her hand at one to the left side of the net, and it was wide by inches. Diving effort from Katie Turnquist. Couldn't quite reach it, and she didn't need to in the end, as it's out for a goal kick. Harris, and this is nothing new for her, but she's been aggressive today. Taking shots from long distance, as she did right then. Hollander going up against Maddie Aguilar, and the dueling number threes is won by Aguilar. Here's Kiki Estrada. Estrada makes a nice move to get around Timmerman. It is knocked out of bounds by St. Ambrose. Timmerman and Aguilar in on that play. Tossed it off of Alejandra Alonso, and Alonso knocked it out of bounds, but she was shoved from behind in the process. So right along that sideline is where St. Francis gets a free kick instead of a throw-in. Chips back by Caitlin Buss, and Buss's pass towards Smothers is intercepted by Casey Harris. Harris down the middle of the field, nobody there in gold. Easily secured by Stephanie Quigley. At midfield, it's St. Ambrose on the attack. Katie Wright back to the defensive side, and Caitlin Buss. They try to reverse it to this side of the field. Smothers passes it cleanly over to Lisa Walter. Quigley gets it ahead to Verkatrin. And now here comes Verkatrin, kicking it off to Maddie Aguilar, and there's Brittany Cook to get in the way. Cleared by Grace McDermott. St. Ambrose sends it right back. They're still in possession here with just under 8 minutes to play in the first half. There's Estrada touching it once, tapping it off towards Haley Wenberg. Wenberg gets it out of harm's way for the moment, but St. Ambrose takes the ball right back. This is Aguilar. Aguilar pushes it ahead, now off to the side. Erin Smothers looking for the shot, and Smothers' attempt is easily stopped by Ellie Provo. Good ball movement, good work to get it down close to the net, but it seemed like St. Ambrose just kind of ran out of tricks on that side of the field. Once they got inside the box, went back and forth and couldn't free anybody up for an open look. So it was taken from the outside by Smothers, but Provo didn't even have to move to make the catch. St. Ambrose keeps it in bounds with Verkatrin, receiving the pass from Katie Wrights. Verkatrin ahead to Aguilar. Aguilar pushes it downfield. Provo steps up and makes the stop. Tori Timmerman was on the run there, but the ball got to Provo before Timmerman could track it down. Here's Casey Harris to the sideline, out of bounds. Knocked out by Olivia Hollander. Throw in for St. Ambrose. On their offensive side of the field, Erin Smothers throws it in. Katie Pendleton has it knocked away from her by Wenberg, but Pendleton jumps in front of Casey Harris and pushes the ball out of bounds. Substitution here for the Fighting Saints. So Olivia Hollander takes a rest. Emily Hartkey is into the game for St. Francis in place of Hollander as they knock the ball out of bounds once again for a St. Ambrose throw-in. 5:45 on the clock. Deflected out of bounds. Again, a throw-in for the Fighting Bees. Tied with St. Francis, 1-1. The two goals were scored in short succession. Less than 2 minutes separated them. St. Ambrose was able to tie up St. Francis after the Fighting Saints scored on a penalty kick. Cleared out of bounds once again. Another St. Ambrose toss-in. There's Estrada knocking it off of Aguilar and along the back line, out of bounds off of St. Ambrose. A couple of Fighting Saints and their fans were calling for a handball a moment ago, but they get the goal kick anyway, which is pretty much the same thing. Free kick from this area of the field. Here's Alonso working against Wrights. Knocked across midfield to Olivia De La Rosa. De La Rosa pushes it forward, looking for Casey Harris. Harris is able to shove Smothers out of the way. Nice possession by Casey Harris, and her shot from 35 yards out is deflected off the back of Caitlin Buss. Right back to the Fighting Saints, though. Estrada off to the left side, nobody there. And hauled in by St. Ambrose. Deflected out of bounds by Olivia De La Rosa. Back out of bounds to the Fighting Bees. Under 4 minutes to play in the first half. 1-1 tie score. De La Rosa does a nice job positioning herself and turning on Erin Smothers. There's the cross from De La Rosa. Alonso coming in, but it's cleared by Stephanie Quigley. Good looking ball there to Alejandra Alonso. If she had gotten there just a split second earlier, may have been a goal for St. Francis. Saints will get a throw in here from midfield. Haley Wenberg is set to take it. Tossed into Hartke. First touch, I believe, for Hartke since she came in the game a few minutes ago. And she loses it quickly, passing it away, where it's intercepted by Lisa Walter. Sideline out of bounds on the Saints. Middle of the field, it's Tori Timmerman passing it ahead and off towards the sideline looking for Smothers. But Haley Bazan knocks that ball away along the sideline. Smothers tosses it towards the box. Aguilar gives it right back to Smothers. Now Smothers dribbles around a defender. She gets to the corner of the box, looks for help, and finds Aguilar. Aguilar behind her. There's Aguilar's cross, deflected away, headed once by St. Francis, still in harm's way, and there's a whistle and a foul called against St. Ambrose, so the Saints will be able to clear it out of harm's way. Final 2 minutes of the half, tie score. There's a whistle, another one goes against St. Ambrose. This will be Estrada with the kick. Down the middle of the field, headed back in St. Ambrose's direction, and they clear it. Interception by Haley Wenberg. Wenberg working her way around Tori Timmerman. Timmerman forced Wenberg to the ground, and now a very late whistle. It'll be set up for a St. Francis free kick. Timmerman knocked Wenberg to the ground. The whistle was far from immediate, but the Saints do get a free kick in the final minute of the half. Not able to do anything with it. So St. Ambrose will try to mount one more attack before halftime as they push the ball down the sideline. It rolls a long way before finally trickling out of bounds. Whoever's able to take the first clean possession out of this throw-in will probably have a chance to get the last real shot at a goal this half, because we're up against the clock right now. Nearly 30 seconds as it rolls down. And it looks like St. Ambrose gets first possession out of the throw. Walter dribbles away down the field. It's knocked away out of bounds. Last touch by St. Francis. They're down to 23 seconds, so they've got to work quickly if they want to take a lead into the break. This is Smothers tossing it into the box and knocked away by Wenberg. St. Ambrose still in possession. Final 10 seconds. It's Smothers. Off to the left. Looks like St. Ambrose might not get another shot off after all. There's one from way out there, but Provo easily steps up, picks up that ball, and ends the first half. Good battle in the first half between two teams that are lopsided on paper, not so on the field. St. Francis has absolutely held their own with St. Ambrose through the first 45 minutes. We'll see if they can do that, and maybe even a little bit more in the second 45 minutes, coming your way in just about a quarter of an hour. Right now, it's 1-1. We're tied at halftime, and I'll step aside from the mic back in a little bit to bring you second half action. St. Francis and St. Ambrose tied in the CCAC finale. Back in Joliet, second half of soccer coming up between University of St. Francis and St. Ambrose University. Very tight first half. Really well played by the Fighting Saints against one of the top teams in the conference, St. Ambrose Fighting Bees, who came in with a 12-3 record, a very impressive 7-2 conference mark. But St. Francis looked very much their equals over the first 45 minutes. They'll try to prove to be their superiors over the second 45 minutes. Our score is 1-1. Both goals were scored right in the same time frame in the game. It was in the 21st minute that the Saints broke the scoreless tie as Kiki Estrada scored on a penalty kick to make it 1-0, and then just about 2 minutes later, almost exactly 2 minutes later, in fact, Morgan Wallen broke through with a goal for St. Ambrose to tie it up at 1 apiece, and that was the case the rest of the way as the defense tightened up from that point on. St. Ambrose 11 shots in the first half. St. Francis had 7 of those shots on goal, 6 of them for St. Ambrose and 3 for the Fighting Saints. New goalkeeper for the Saints in this second half as the freshman Yadira Estrada has come on in place of Ellie Provo, who certainly did her job over the first 45 minutes, holding this high-powered offensive attack to just 1 goal. We'll see if Estrada can do something similar here in the second half, which is now officially underway. St. Ambrose going from right to left in the second half, as the two teams, of course, have reversed sides. St. Francis steps in defensively, and Estrada knocks the ball out of bounds. It'll be a throw-in for Stephanie Quigley. Before Quigley is allowed to toss the ball in, we'll have to check on an injury to Kiki Estrada here. Just 32 seconds into the second half, Estrada is grabbing her right leg and down on one knee. Hopefully she's all right. Playing in her final game as a member of the St. Francis soccer team. You'd hate to see her have to leave early. She's trying to stretch it out right now, and I think she said she's okay. Waved off any assistance from the trainers. So it looks like Kiki Estrada will, at least for now, stay in the game, and hopefully she's all right going forward. We'll restart the clock as we restart play. The ball going in for St. Ambrose. Back to Stephanie Quigley. Towards the middle of the field, and Haley Bazan there to clear it. And deflected off of the referee right there. For a moment it looked like a break for St. Ambrose, but the ball did deflect back to St. Francis anyway, so no harm done. St. Ambrose, a couple of weeks ago, had been undefeated in conference. They had won their first 6 conference matches this year after a fine showing last season as well, right at the top of the CCAC. They matched up with Trinity Christian. Both teams had been 6-0, though Trinity Christian had been the better overall team. They hadn't lost any games up to that point in the season. And it seemed like it was going to be a big showdown to determine conference supremacy, and turned out not to be much of a match as Trinity Christian blanked St. Ambrose 4-0. Olivia Hollander passes towards the middle of the field looking for Madison Hanyon, but it's taken away by St. Ambrose, and here comes Morgan Verkotten. Verkotren passes it off to the right, intercepted by St. Francis, knocked back towards the midfield circle, and deflected away by St. Ambrose again. It's Verkotren to Quigley. Quigley rolls it ahead where Brittany Cook steps in and knocks the ball out of bounds. 4-0 loss to Trinity Christian was followed by another loss for St. Ambrose, and it looked like that was that in terms of who was going to rule the CCAC this year. Trinity Christian appeared as though they would have it going away, but then they were upset. Very surprisingly, in their last match, they fell, and so they're back down to 8-1, and St. Ambrose, with a little bit of help from St. Xavier today. St. Xavier takes on Trinity Christian. Could still get a share of the conference title. St. Ambrose, of course, would need to break this tie with St. Francis, and then they would need St. Xavier to defeat Trinity later this evening. Night game at St. Xavier today. Here's Kelly Petrowski. Petrowski getting into the box, and she chips it in front of the net where Katie Turnquist falls on top of it. It was a good-looking run right there from Petrowski, but got in a little bit too deep behind the net, or I should say right along the back line. Didn't have an angle on a shot, so an easy stop for Turnquist. That ball rolls back to the St. Francis defense. 42 minutes to play in the second half. Tied at 1. There's the kick from Yadira Estrada down to the far side, and Haley Bazan playing up in the midfield. Knocked down the way by Kiki Estrada. Estrada looking for Casey Harris, and Harris pokes it by the defender, Caitlin Buss. She's down in the corner. There's the cross for Petrowski, but it's intercepted and knocked away. Well defended by Madison Volpert. Out of bounds for a St. Francis throw-in. Trying to break a 1-1 tie here. Saints allowed 1 goal in the first half, which was the first time in 3 games that they had let anybody score. Their last 2 contests were both shutout wins. Their last loss came here on this field October 16th against Roosevelt, a 2-1 defeat that day. And that was a devastating loss for St. Francis as the Lakers scored the game-winning goal in the final minutes. That was a close 1-1 game for the majority, just the way today has been as well. And the Saints are hoping to deal that kind of tough loss to their opposition today as a foul goes against St. Ambrose and allows a free kick to Kiki Estrada. 40 minutes and 30 seconds to go. Second half of a tie game. Here's Verkatrin for St. Ambrose jumping in front, pushing that ball ahead to Pendleton. Katie Pendleton on the cross to Verkatrin. Takes a step back, looking to get it back to Pendleton, but it's deflected. Pendleton again rolls it towards the middle of the field and intercepted by the Fighting Saints. Kiki Estrada trying to finally clear it, and it is knocked out of bounds. And last touched by Alejandra Alonso, who got in the way and headed that ball off to the sideline. So another throw in for St. Ambrose. Into Verkatrin, passes back towards Quigley, but again it's Alonso getting in the way and knocking it out of bounds. Lobbed into Wallen. Back to Quigley. Quigley in front of the net, deflected towards the side. Verkatrin takes a shot on goal, but sends it high over the goal and out of bounds. So we remain tied despite a barrage there from St. Ambrose. And I guess usually you characterize something as barrage, you talk about several shots in a row. They only really got the 1 shot off there that went too high. Didn't really even threaten to go in, but they had the ball in their possession for quite a while and in the attacking zone the entire time there, but the Saints are able to hold strong defensively. That ball pushed into the St. Francis attacking third, but nobody there to play it for the Saints, so it's picked up cleanly by Katie Turnquist. Turnquist rolls it to the outside, and Stephanie Quigley. Middle of the field. Rolling it out is Lisa Walter, and Walter passes back to Buss. Caitlin Buss, one of the stalwart defenders on a very strong defensive team for St. Ambrose, averaging to give up less than a goal per contest. They give the ball up here. Grace McDermott ahead to Kelly Petrowski. Back to Hanyon. Madison Hanyon rolls it off to Casey Harris. Harris along the side, McDermott in the box, makes one defender miss. McDermott shoots, and it's wide and out of bounds. I think Turnquist did get her fingertips on that one. She'll give the Fighting Saints a corner kick. Great effort from Grace McDermott in a bid for her 2nd goal of the season. A couple of really nice ball moves to get around 2 defenders and get off a clean shot, but just off the fingertips of Turnquist and wide and outside the net, but great looking shot. Now they'll try it from the corner. Ball comes in, deflected in front of the front post. Along the sideline, looking for the cross, but it's knocked out of bounds by St. Ambrose. Tossed back into Haley Wenberg. Wenberg, another of the 5 seniors on the roster. Tries to turn it upfield. Katie Wright slides in front of her, knocks it out of bounds. Wenberg throws it right back into Casey Harris, but Harris has it taken away by Aaron Smothers. Here's Alonso. Alonso pushes it ahead to Harris, deflected backwards. There's Estrada giving it a big boot down in front of the box. Backpack Casey Harris. Harris shoots and scores! Give the lead back to the Fighting Saints, 2-1. Casey Harris from nearly 30 yards out, at the ball just tapped lightly back to her. She was well out there, but she had a good look at the net and was able to put it in that top corner left side. Beautiful goal from Casey Harris to put the Saints ahead 2-1 with 37 minutes to play in the second half.
Number 43, Casey Harris, assisted by Estrada.
How about that one? 37 minutes to go in the game. Saints again on top of St. Ambrose. And this team just continues to improve as the season goes on, as the ball is tapped out of bounds there by Brittany Cook. They had put together back-to-back great games with shutout wins their last 2 times out. Those wins came against Robert Morris, which was a pretty big upset at the time, and then Holy Cross, who is still winless in conference play this year. But this is a different story altogether today against a St. Ambrose team who's got a chance to tie it up here. Pendleton was onside. She dribbles in on Estrada, and Estrada is able to knock it away off the foot of Katie Pendleton. Very nice work there by Yadira Estrada, but Katie Pendleton was all alone. She was a good 10 yards out in front of the defense. Was able to stay onside, just made a great run on that ball and wasn't able to do anything with it. She mishandled it. St. Ambrose still in possession just outside the box. A couple of defenders jump in on that one, knock the ball away from Lisa Walter. Casey Harris involved in that stop. Back to the goalkeeper, and Turnquist sends it the other way. Casey Harris's goal that put St. Francis in the lead was her 4th goal this season. That breaks a tie with Kelly Petrowski for a team lead. 12 points this year for Casey Harris, and that's far and away best on the team. She's got 4 assists to go along with her 4 goals. Taken away here by Grace McDermott. McDermott works her way down to the corner, and there's a nice cross to Petrowski. Petrowski trying to keep it alive, tapped back to McDermott. Now Madison Hanyon puts it in front of the net. A header for Alonzo right in front of Turnquist, who mishandles it off the bounce. The ball is still loose, and the Saints unable to get a shot off there. There's an interception by McDermott in front of the net again to Alonzo. Pinball around off about 3 or 4 bees' heads there, and now finally knocked up into the air and out of bounds by Madison Hanyon. Pretty wild sequence. Nearly became 3-1 St. Francis, and finally it ended as Hanyon stepped up, tried to take a shot, but couldn't get a good kick on the ball and ended up popping up a little bit too high and over the net out of bounds. So it's still 2-1 in favor of St. Francis. 34 minutes to play in the game. Not going to be easy to hold St. Ambrose off the board for the final 30 minutes plus. Taken away by the Fighting Bees. Maddie Aguilar pushes it ahead to Verkotrin. Verkotrin working against Brittany Cook, cuts it back towards the middle of the field, and there's a pass center in front of the net and intercepted by Kiki Estrada. Alejandra Alonso is making a run, but she kicks it away. As I was saying, it's not going to be easy for St. Francis to hold St. Ambrose off the board the rest of the way, because this is a pretty lethal offensive team. But keep in mind, as Estrada in some trouble against 2 offensive players, able to pop the ball up into the air and clear it for the time being. St. Ambrose still on the run there. Here's Wallen in the box. Wallen shoots, and it goes wide out of bounds. Brittany Cook steps in at the last second to impede that one a little bit, but Wallen still was able to get the shot off. Was not deflected at any point by Cook, and Wallen just sent it wide. So the bad news for the Fighting Saints is they are playing one of the better teams in the conference and a strong offense that has got more than a half hour still to knot this one up and try to get the win. The good news for the Fighting Saints is they've scored 2 goals, and scoring has been their problem this year. Defense has not been the problem, especially lately. Coming into today, they had allowed just 1 goal, or 2 goals rather, in their last 4 games combined. So for the Fighting Saints to score 2 goals, that's the big deal, and that's a number that more often than not is going to get them a victory. Question hasn't been, can they stop St. Ambrose? It's been, can they score themselves. They've done that. The hard part is done, and now they're just going to try to hold on the rest of the way, and they'll try to add on as well. They push that ball into the box, but to no avail. They'd love to make this score 3 or 4 to 1. But for right now, they're very happy at where they stand. Up by 1 goal. That ball sent down the near side, chased back, and knocked out of bounds by Grace McDermott. St. Ambrose will get the throw in. There is a lot at stake for St. Ambrose today. Not only their slim chances of winning the conference, or at least tying Trinity Christian for a shared conference title, but they need to win to stay in front of Cardinal Stritch. They came in tied with Cardinal Stritch in the standings. Cleared by Estrada there. It bounces back to the midfield circle and across midfield to the defensive side for St. Ambrose, who immediately turn it in the other direction. Here's Haley Bazan, halted for a moment, but she gets it right back, and now she's making her run. Ahead for Petrowski, and Petrowski was just offside. Off by only about a half step there, but she was off. The flag went up and the whistle blew. St. Ambrose gets the free kick. St. Ambrose and Cardinal Stritch both came in at 7-2 today. Ambrose does have the tiebreaker, but Cardinal Stritch plays later tonight against the struggling Roosevelt team. And if this score holds and Cardinal Stritch beats Roosevelt, then the Fighting Bees, who had their eyes on an undefeated conference season as recently as a week and a half ago, would fall to 3rd place.
And next year they will be 14th.
Here come the Fighting Saints. Along the sideline, this is Madison Hanyon. Hanyon crosses it in front of the net. Petrowski kicks it towards the back line and out of bounds. It's a goal kick for St. Ambrose, who makes some substitutions. Tori Timmerman comes back in, and Elisa Seno checks in for the first time. Out of bounds along the near sideline. St. Francis gets the throw in, and they'll make some substitutions as well. Sarah Heimberg is in, and she's joined by Grace Giallo. Giallo, the freshman from Plainfield East High School, making just her 4th appearance of the year. Sarah Heimberg, sophomore from New Lenox, Illinois, making her 7th trip onto the field for this season. Heimberg scored a goal early this year, back in August. So she started the season strong offensively, trying to finish it strong as well. Headed out of bounds, another throw in for the Fighting Saints. 29 minutes to go. 2-1, St. Francis has the lead. Here's Grace McDermott pushing it off to her left. There's Olivia Hollander up into the air and along the sideline, out of bounds. Thrown in by St. Ambrose. McDermott wins the ball back for the Fighting Saints, but pushes it all the way out the back line. Goal kick coming up for the Fighting Bees. St. Francis entered play today 2-6-1 in conference play. Both of their wins and their tie have come in the last 2 weeks. Trying to pick up their 3rd consecutive victory today. Far sideline, St. Ambrose in possession. Kick downfield by Smothers. Poking it back the other way is Kiki Estrada. Now St. Ambrose works their way forward again. Estrada knocks that ball away from Tori Timmerman. And along the sideline, it's out of bounds for a Fighting Bees throw-in. Smothers steps up from the defensive side to toss the ball back in play. This is Smothers in control of it, working against Haley Bazan, and it's knocked out by Bazan. St. Francis's defense trying to hold strong here, and they do once again knock the ball out of bounds. But the throw in for the Bees. Into Aguilar, and this time Aguilar is the one who touches it out. The ball hasn't left that vicinity in the last minute, but now finally St. Francis will get a chance to try to put it the other way downfield. Just under 27 minutes to go in the game. Haley Winberg is throwing it in. Over the head of Aguilar and off the foot of Heimberg. Heimberg tries to turn it upfield, taken away by St. Ambrose, and now the Bees get it back to the center. There's Quigley, intercepted. Intercepted by Casey Harris. Harris taps it forward, past Quigley, and past everybody, out of bounds. Quigley, who had been knocked to the ground after a collision with Harris, has to pull herself up and walk off towards the sideline to grab the ball and throw it back in. And she gets it off the foot of Morgan Wallen. Deflected towards the sideline. The ball hugs the line and stays in bounds. Madison Volpert knocks it back to Katie Turnquist, the goalie. Turnquist's kick is intercepted by Madison Hanyon. There's Hanyon pushing it into the box. Too strong for Heimberg. Knocked away by Buss, out of bounds for a corner kick. St. Ambrose has not been able to attempt a corner kick yet in today's game. For St. Francis, this is number 5. None of them have directly led to goals, but it was a scramble after a corner kick that led to their first goal. Penalty kick for Kiki Estrada. Headed away by St. Ambrose in front of the net. Haley Winberg steps up, knocks the referee over, and there's a shot wide and out of bounds. Winberg was coming up and ran right into Carolina Grella, the referee in today's game. She's actually taken a few hits today, more than you typically see from an official. But she hasn't been as busy as you sometimes see. It's been a pretty clean game, not a ton of fouls called. As we tick down under 25 minutes to play in the game. We've been going more than an hour already. And it's been a fun one, particularly if you're a St. Francis fan. They lead here on senior day 2-1, and they make a good defensive play here. It's Olivia Hollander. Starts to move the ball towards the offensive side. Casey Harris looking for some help. Harris trying to get around Madison Volpert, but Volpert knocks it away and out of bounds. Harris will throw it in from the corner. In front of the net, knocked away by the Bees towards the sideline. There's Brittany Cook pushing it back into the box. Heimberg trying to chase the ball down. She can't get there. St. Francis has certainly been the aggressor offensively here in the second half, but St. Ambrose is trying to change that right now. Good ball work by Timmerman. Timmerman tries to pass it ahead to Verkatrin, but it's taken away instead by Grace McDermott. Offsides and nothing doing on that run. There was Lisa Seno trying to make the run for St. Ambrose, but she was out in front of it a little bit too much, out in front of the defense. Seno, a sophomore who is not typically a starter but has appeared in every game this year, has scored 2 goals on the season. Fighting Saints have outshot the Fighting Bees 7-2 so far in the second half, and of course they've got the only goal so far since intermission. Here's Haley Bazan chasing it down along the sideline, and she comes to a sliding stop. Not able to keep it in though. Caitlin Buss rolls it ahead where Olivia Hollander knocks it away from Maddie Aguilar. Saints in possession. There's Bazan taking a shot from long distance and an easy stop for Katie Turnquist. Turnquist quickly rolls it out the other way, trying to quickly jumpstart St. Ambrose possession. Volpert passes to the right. Smothers knocks it off of Haley Bazan, who's a little bit shaken up after taking that one to the chops, but She seems like she's okay, just has to shake it off a little bit. And there's the St. Francis defense holding strong once again. Towards the sideline, it's kept in bounds by Stephanie Quigley. Here come the Fighting Bees with under 22 minutes to play in the game. Volpert rolls it off to the right side. Buss pushes it across midfield, and Seno that time was way off sides, a good 10 plus yards, so no question about that call. Fighting Saints will get a free kick. 2-1, St. Francis leads. They got their first goal on a penalty kick from Kiki Estrada in the first half. That's Estrada kicking the ball away. Just 2 minutes after they had taken a 1-0 lead, Morgan Wallen answered for St. Ambrose by scoring one of her own. And then in the second half, a great shot from a long way out from Casey Harris. Here's St. Ambrose trying to tie the score once again as they get into the box, deflected away by Cook. Ball loose on the outside of that box, and Cook is able to clear it. Nice work right there. That goal from Harris back at the 53rd minute made the score 2-1, and this time St. Ambrose was not able to respond immediately. It's been nearly 17 minutes since the Fighting Saints scored their goal, and St. Ambrose has not been able to match it. So the Saints maintain a 1-goal lead, 2-1. St. Ambrose is threatening right here to snap that lead up. Timmerman taken away by Kiki Estrada. Down to midfield. Grace Giallo passes it off. Casey Harris. Harris rolls it ahead to Madison Hanyon. Hanyon is in deep looking for the shot, and it's headed away by St. Ambrose. I think that was Buss who got in there and got her head on the ball just before it was to reach the goalkeeper, Katie Turnquist. A throw in here for the Saints. It's McDermott to do the honors. Deflected, but right back to McDermott. There's McDermott's cross off the head of Bazan. Deflected by Turnquist and cleared by St. Ambrose. I think that ball had some funny spin on it. It looked like Turnquist was in position to make the save, but it just slipped out of her hands. Almost like she didn't see it, or it just took a weird turn on her at the last second, but she was able at least to deflect it enough to keep it in front of the net. It bounced once in front of the net, and St. Ambrose was able to clear it. The defense was in good position for that. St. Francis still leads 2-1, but that's one that they'll be frustrated about later if St. Ambrose does end up coming back and scoring again. Not that the Fighting Saints did anything wrong on the play, just that it was so close to being a 3-1 game. 19 minutes are on the clock right now. St. Francis has the free kick from down in their defensive corner. Kick is away from Kiki Estrada. Into the attacking side of the field for the Fighting Saints. Nice play by Madison Hanyon to initially take that ball off the foot of Stephanie Quigley, but not able to maintain possession as it goes out of bounds. Substitution for St. Ambrose. Katie Provo comes in for Maddie Aguilar. So we saw Ellie Provo in net in the first half for the Fighting Saints. And now Katie Provo comes in the second half for St. Ambrose. But the two do not get a chance to play against one another directly. St. Ambrose trying to mount an attack here. Kiki Estrada steps in, pops that ball up into the air. This is Verkatrin. Rolls it off to the middle of the field, and Lisa Walter. Walter pushes to the right side. Tori Timmerman. Timmerman trying to kickstart the attack. Pushed off to the right side. There's the cross, deflected out of bounds. Kick off the foot of Elisa Seno. Went well out. Goal kick coming out. And Elisa Seno heads back to the bench. Katie Pendleton checks back in. Couple of subs for the Saints as well. Mary Kate Heineck has into the contest now, and it looks like Olivia De La Rosa as well. De La Rosa came on for Kelly Petrowski in the first half. And now she comes on and pushes Petrowski back in the second half. Petrowski had checked out of the game a few minutes earlier. So Heimberg and Giallo were the two players who went to the bench directly for Heineck and De La Rosa. A couple of new faces up at the front for St. Francis. The defense remains unchecked. 16.5 minutes to play. Second half, 1-goal lead for the Saints. St. Ambrose in front of the net. This is Provo taking a shot, and it's deflected up into the air and picked up by Yadira Estrada. Brittany Cook, I think, was the player who deflected that ball away from Katie Provo. And a big play there by the Fighting Saints defense. Aaron Smothers' pass is deflected, out of bounds. Throw in for St. Ambrose. Caitlin Buss has the ball knocked off of her foot by Olivia De La Rosa, but brought back in by St. Ambrose, back to the goalkeeper, Katie Turnquist. Turnquist pushes it towards the sideline. A lot of Katies on this St. Ambrose side. Katie Turnquist is the goalkeeper. They've got Katie Wrights and Katie Provo offensively. Katie Thielen on the bench. We haven't seen her as Katie Turnquist gets involved once again. Turnquist falls on top of that one. The freshman has not played poorly in goal today at all. One of the 2 goals she's allowed came on a penalty kick, and the other one was just a perfect shot from Casey Harris. But Turnquist has made some big plays here in the second half to keep the game close. Here comes St. Ambrose. This is Verkatrin. Verkatrin gives it away. Kiki Estrada is there to take the loose ball. Katie Pendleton, I don't think I mentioned. Running through all the Katies on St. Ambrose. Here comes a run from Mary Kate Heineck, but Katie Turnquist is there to make the stop. I don't know if Caitlin Buss goes by Caitlin or something else. Probably wise, at least in that locker room, not to go by Katie, just to avoid confusion any more than there already is. Here's Provo. Passing to her left, where it's intercepted by Casey Harris. Hanyon pops it down the sideline. Olivia De La Rosa on the run. De La Rosa can't quite reach that ball to keep it in bounds. It's a throw in for the Bees. Just over 14 minutes to go in the game. Quigley pushes it off to Wallen. Gets it downfield. Morgan Wallen has been out there the whole second half, which has been good to see. She scored a goal in the first and then had to leave with an apparent injury. She was grasping at her head as she walked off the field, but she was okay after leaving. She's been out there again the entire second half, so that's been a positive for St. Ambrose for sure. Haven't been able to score so far in the second half, though, as they lose possession here to a St. Francis throw-in. Grace McDermott looking for Olivia De La Rosa. Can't quite get it there, but it's pushed back to her. McDermott loses it again, trying to get to Casey Harris, and now here comes St. Ambrose. Smothers gets it ahead to Verkatrin, and Verkatrin has it tackled away by McDermott. Nice work by McDermott, and she keeps it into Harris. Casey Harris down the sideline, long way for Olivia De La Rosa, and De La Rosa is able to catch up to that one. See if she can turn it back towards the middle of the field, going up against Volpert, and Volpert knocks it off of De La Rosa and out of bounds. Corner kick coming up for the Saints. 2-1 St. Francis leads, and we're starting to get to a point where it's late enough in the game that one more goal would put them in very comfortable position as Casey Harris sends this corner kick right off the goalkeeper and into the net. Katie Turnquist jumped out in front of that ball and knocked it off of her hands and into the net, but the goal has been waved off by the officials. So Harris comes up short in her bid for a second goal, at least in the short term. Offsides was the call, or did it go out of bounds? But regardless, it was off of the hands of the goalkeeper Turnquist, not able to make the initial stop. She did not end up having to pay for the inability to make that catch cleanly, though. Just knocked out of bounds here by the Fighting Saints. So no corner kick this time for St. Francis. It is a goal kick for Turnquist and St. Ambrose. Saints really have dominated offensive play here in the second half. They've been the far superior team over the last 34 minutes or so. They were able to get one goal out of all that